Early Monday morning on January 7th, residents of Red Mountain Road in Arlington were startled by the sounds of gunfire coming from a nearby residence. Their neighbor, Matt Novick, age 40, was engaged in a shooting standoff with officers of the Vermont State Police, which resulted in Novick being rushed to the Albany Medical Center with multiple wounds. The law enforcement officers had been called to the address up the steep and winding Red Mountain Road following a 911 call received shortly before 4 a.m. from a relative of Novick's who lives in a nearby home. The caller said Novick was experiencing a mental health crisis, according to a statement released later in the day by the state police. When the troopers arrived at Novick's residence, they saw him standing in a driveway holding what appeared to be an AK-47-style semi-automatic rifle. The state police's preliminary investigation revealed that Novick advanced down the driveway and fired in the direction of the troopers. They returned the fire, and Novick was hit several times, leading him to be taken to the medical center for treatment. As of later that day, his condition remained undisclosed. That afternoon, at the state police barracks in Shaftesbury, officials from the state police, plus Erica Marthage, the state's attorney, took part in a press conference. Major Dan Trudeau, the commander of the state police's criminal division, and Captain Scott Dunlap, the commander of their major crimes unit, along with state's attorney Marthage, spoke with members of the press corps outside the barracks.
That address, it was a relative that called 911 and had concerns that he was having a mental breakdown of sorts and asked for state police assistance. Troopers from Shaftesbury were called out, responded up to that address at 5:35 and arrived approximately 4:40. When they approached the driveway residence, they observed a male who was later identified as Matt Novick. He was in possession of what appeared to be an AK-47 style rifle. Troopers backed out of the area and parked their vehicle in the roadway at the base of the driveway. At this time, also other troopers and officers from different departments such as Manchester, Bennington, and Winhall were on the way to help out. They held up a perimeter for a short while, and at approximately 5:06, I believe, they heard shots coming from the area near the residence. They were uncertain whether the shots were inside or on the backside of the house. At that time, some of the other troopers who had arrived and other local officers helped evacuate some of the houses in the nearby just to get people to safety because we weren't sure what kind of incident was unfolding. Approximately 5:50, I believe, subject Matt Novick was spotted in the driveway. There was an exchange of shots between Novick and the troopers. Novick was struck multiple times. Medical aid was rendered to him, and he was transported by ambulance to the hospital here in Bennington, down in Bennington, and then ultimately life-flighted to the Albany Medical Center in Albany, New York. At that time, the major crime unit was activated, and the investigation has begun. At this time, we have crime scene is up at that address right now, and the subject, Matt Novick, is currently at the Albany Medical Center. He had gone under some surgery. At this time, we're not fully aware of what his condition is. Anybody got any questions?
Did he fire first?
We're still trying to determine that. Still under investigation, so we have some interviews to do. The troopers that were involved, we're not going to name right now, but they'll be put on our department policy administrative leave for 5 days. So we'll be scheduling to interview them over the course of the next couple of days.
Where was he struck?
That I'm actually not sure. Trying to verify that with the hospital. I can say it was multiple times. I can't say what actually multiple is because we haven't confirmed that with the hospital, and we do want to do that.
In the shooting at Pownell, the officer had buckshot in his gun. In this case, what was the ammunition?
In this case, the troopers were using 223 rounds, so they were their department patrol rifles that they utilized for this case after seeing Novick in possession of, a rifle himself.
Was any of this confrontation caught on a body cam or dash cam?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure. We haven't got to a point to download anything like that, so at this time I couldn't say for certain.
And the rifle, the AK-47 type, is that kind of firearm legal to own in Vermont?
Well, it depends. If it's a semi-automatic, then it would be, barring if the person's prohibited or any of that nature. But yeah, as long as it's not fully automatic. Yeah.
What is Mr. Novick's criminal record?
From what I understand, he has no criminal record.
Are there any charges that have been filed against him yet? Has bail been set?
No charges filed yet. Something we're looking into, and we've been consulting this afternoon on where we go from here.
What charges do you anticipate?
I can't really say right now. Probably within the next hour, I'll have something filed.
Filed in court?
Yes. Because he's in Albany, there's an issue as to him being in another state. So it's going to be important for us to get our charges filed so that I can have something on the record and an NCIC to make sure that we know where he is and when he's released.
Is he expected to survive?
We don't know that. We don't. Other than him having had surgery early this morning, we haven't got a status update from the hospital at all yet.
How far was he away from the troopers when firing?
That I'm not sure. Again, crime scene is up there, so I couldn't speculate on the distance.
Do you know if he lived alone?
He had another gentleman that lived with him.
Was he alone in the house this morning?
Yes. Yes, at the time the troopers arrived, he was there by himself. They cleared the house afterwards to make sure nobody else was in there.
And when the shooting took place, was he outside the house?
Yes, he was.
Do you know what prompted the mental distress? Or was drugs and alcohol involved?
No, I don't know yet. We're still investigating that.
Do you know if neighbors ever called to report anything happening at his residence previously?
Nothing that I'm aware of that we've located yet, no.
Can I just clarify that we're not, that the mental distress call was made by a family member, but we don't have any independent information at this point to indicate whether it's actually mental distress or something else, so.
That's just the initial information that we obtained, and we're never able to get any further investigation into that.
Have there been any other recent calls at that address?
I think there was one response there. I'm not sure. Actually, I might have that right here. The date. I'm sorry. Yeah, back in November, some troopers went there for a family fight type disturbance. It was with the roommate, something of that nature.
And no charges were filed?
No.
There was something in the press release about where bullets were in the police trooper's vehicle. Is that for bullets that he fired?
Well, we're still, again, crime scene's up there, so I couldn't really verify for certain, but that's what it, give me 1 second.
And I guess I was wondering where the troopers were in relation to that vehicle. Like if
Well,
they were
that's what
hiding
we're
behind it, or...
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. So eventually we'll have some of the troopers that were involved back up the scene, so we know exactly where they were positioned versus where these bullet holes ended up. There were some in one of the cruisers. I couldn't tell you how many yet because we haven't gone through all that.
Is there a number of shots fired? Do you know how many shots the officers fired?
I'm not certain yet. I'm still looking into that.
Do you know why these two officers fired versus were these two closer than other people? Because there were a bunch of officers there, right?
Yeah, well, I think the other officers were helping with the evacuation of the other residents. So these were the two troopers that were keeping eyes on the scenario. Good. Good. All right. If we get some updates, we'll do updates through our PIO or anything like that.
For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.